A person would have lost a lot of blood from that kind of injury. But it was a statue, so it didn't bleed. That meant Jinwoo could cut off its head without worry. Did the statue know this? Then its mouth opened. Finally, it said. The statue's voice sounded even stranger when you were close. You asked me a good question. The statue smiled. Even though it was missing some arms, and had a dagger stuck in its neck, it didn't seem scared at all. Where was its real body? Jinwoo looked everywhere, using his special senses to try and find it, but he couldn't. If the statue was hiding its true form with a special ability, that ability must be amazing. The angel statue continued speaking. The answer is inside you. Inside me. Jinwoo was careful, watching for a trick, and narrowed his eyes. He spent 4 years working as a hunter, fighting many dangerous enemies. Even though he started at the lowest rank, E rank, he managed to survive. These experiences taught him to trust his instincts and make good choices even when things were really difficult. He felt a familiar warning signal, like something important was about to happen. Then a little sound rang out. The computer system spoke again, this time with a friendly female voice. It said it was getting information, and asked if he wanted to see it. A screen also appeared with the question. Jinwoo stared at the screen where yes and no blinked, waiting for him to choose. Was this another trick? Jinwoo looked from the screen to the angel. Its face showed no emotion. You get to decide, it said. This time its voice wasn't the same as the system's voice. It was different. A harsh robotic voice bothered Jinwoo. He frowned, thinking hard. Was this like a video game, with a place to save progress? Could he look back at what had happened? Many ideas went through his mind, but he had already decided what to do. This could be his only chance to learn the truth, so he couldn't give up now. Also, if someone was trying to trick him, the system wouldn't have made things so difficult. It could have stopped him at any moment. If this was the last challenge, then he deserved to see the information. Jinwoo remembered what the angel said before the battle started. If you are still here when this test is finished, I will tell you everything. That would be my gift to you. His gift was the chance to look at the information. Jinwoo decided what he would do, and spoke clearly. Yes. Darkness came around him. A sound like a chime rang out. Then the system spoke. You have gotten the information. Jinwoo was moving very fast through a long tunnel. He quickly moved through the darkness, and suddenly appeared in a very bright light. He took a deep breath as his eyes got used to the brightness, and he looked at the amazing sight below. Wow! There were magical creatures everywhere, lined up in rows as far as he could see. There were so many creatures that Jinwoo couldn't see the ground beneath their feet. It was a really scary sight. If these creatures came through a special doorway, all of humanity could be in danger. Jinwoo felt very uneasy. Just a moment, where was he? This definitely wasn't Earth. The land was a reddish-brown and very dry. There wasn't any plant life, and strange, tall, skinny rocks reached up toward the sky. He had never seen a place like it before. He looked at the magical creatures. Some were small, the kind often found in easier dungeons, and others were strong like high orcs, ice slayers, and giants. Everyone was looking up, no matter how big or small they were, and they were all waiting to see something. Jinwoo looked where they were looking. Wow! A dark, shadowy shape floated in the sky. It looked like a lake, but it wasn't water. It was a giant doorway, so huge, it could easily be mistaken for a lake. A dark hole hid the purple sky. The color made Jinwoo certain this wasn't Earth. Something was about to happen between magical creatures and the gate in this strange place. Jinwoo gulped. He felt more and more nervous in the quiet. A loud whooshing sound filled the air. What would come out of the gate? Jinwoo thought a lot of people with weapons would come rushing through the gate, similar to how monsters appeared from gates on Earth. The gate broke open and soldiers with wings and silver armor flew out. They came out in a huge group, like a disturbed beehive filling the sky, just as monsters usually covered the ground. It was an amazing sight that surprised Jinwoo. But the monsters reacted differently, making loud noises and becoming very agitated. When they saw the soldiers filling the sky, Jinwoo realized exactly what he was seeing. This was a big battle. Soldiers rushed forward quickly, like shining silver lightning. More gates opened, and even more soldiers came pouring out. With the magical creatures on the ground, and the soldiers in the air, The two groups fought a spectacular battle. The magical creatures roared loudly, shaking the ground. The silver soldiers blew horns that sounded very grand. Weapons hit each other, armor was damaged, and shouts turned into cries of pain. The ground was covered in red. It was clear who was winning. The silver soldiers quickly defeated the magical beasts, creatures strong enough to harm experienced hunters. The monsters didn't stand a chance, and the battle began to favor the soldiers. Even though they were sure to win, more and more soldiers kept coming from the city gates. Soon, the soldiers overwhelmed all the beasts. The monsters roared and cried out. What started as a battle quickly became a terrible slaughter, as the soldiers fought with no mercy, just as Jinwoo had fought his enemies. The number of magical creatures was quickly going down. Jinwoo wasn't sure how he felt as he watched these scary creatures being defeated so easily. Did he feel sorry for them, or did he wish humans could be that strong too? He didn't have much time to think about it, because something amazing was about to happen. The magical creatures were almost all defeated. The sky soldiers stopped fighting and began to stand still. What was going on? Did they suddenly feel sorry for the creatures? That didn't seem right. The soldiers kept holding their weapons tightly, but their hands were shaking a little bit. Instead of feeling sorry for him, their eyes were filled with fear. They were all looking at something behind Jinwoo. It was obvious that whatever was back there was about to change the battle. Jinwoo looked down instead of turning around. A dark shadow was spreading across the ground, quickly covering the dead bodies and the blood on the land. Darkness moved over the fallen, and strange screams echoed around them. Jinwoo couldn't tell where the sounds were coming from, but they reminded him of a powerful ability he knew. It was called Monarch's Domain. He felt a chill run down his spine, and slowly turned around. Standing there was a knight completely covered in black armor. A scary darkness seemed to come from the knight and his horse. Could it be? Jinwoo immediately knew there was only one name for this knight. It was the Shadow Monarch. Just being near him made the air feel thick and hard to breathe. Everyone from the flying soldiers to all the magical creatures on the ground stopped and stared, giving the Shadow Monarch their full attention. Everyone on the battlefield was watching him. Shadow Monarch looked at the soldiers flying in the air and held out his hand as if he was trying to catch something. The flying soldiers moved back a little, looking scared. Everything became very quiet and everyone felt nervous. Then the monarch spoke in a strong, serious voice. Rise. Jinwoo's heart beat faster. Rise. That one word created a quick change like a fast-moving ripple. The red battlefield seemed to become dark. Rolling waves. Growl. The shadowy soldiers looked at their enemies, and their cries sounded like angry roars or painful screams. The warrior no longer seemed afraid. This sight was enough to scare even the bravest soldiers, but the leader didn't stop there. The knight let out a powerful roar that Jinwoo felt deep inside, not just in his ears. The ground trembled, and everyone felt it in their chests and legs. The dark soldiers lifted their weapons and shouted. A huge roar echoed through the land. With that sound, the dark soldiers changed. All the magical creatures that had died were now dark soldiers, prepared to fight. Jinwoo took a deep breath, feeling surprised. He thought the sound of the dark soldiers was exciting. His heart beat fast. If this showed how strong the Shadow Monarch was, then Jinwoo knew he still had a lot to learn. The unsure soldiers in the sky started moving again. They gathered together and attacked the soldiers wearing black armor. It reminded Jinwoo of silver bees swarming. But these creatures weren't easy to beat this time. Swords hit swords and soldiers fought soldiers as the silver and black armies crashed into each other, and became one huge group. The ground trembled from the noise of the fighting. A fight that looked like it would end quickly became a real war. One person showed up, and they were very powerful and scary. This person changed everything. Jinwoo didn't understand why he was seeing this, but he couldn't look away. The battle continued with a lot of fighting. This battle was much more violent and intense than the ones before. While the magical creatures hadn't been strong enough to defeat the sky soldiers when they were alive, they were able to fight much better as shadow soldiers after they died. But what really made them scary wasn't their courage, or how well they fought. The brave soldiers flying in the sky were still better fighters than their shadowy enemies, and had better weapons. Coming back to life hadn't helped the shadow army become stronger. So at first it didn't seem like the war was changing. But whenever a shadow soldier was defeated, it quickly reappeared. Ugh! A shadow soldier twisted in pain and shouted as it was stabbed. The shiny silver soldier believed it would win, so it lowered its spear and raised its sword to cut off the dark creature's head. Swish! But the moment the head flew off, the body and head turned into smoke, and then appeared again, whole, a little bit away. The silver soldier moved back when the shadow soldier quickly stabbed forward. The sword went right through the silver armor and out the other side with a loud sound. The soldier fell to the ground. Their eyes became unfocused as they lost strength and fell still. But then, a powerful voice spoke. It said, "Rise." The silver soldier realized it was holding a dark spear. This wasn't the end for it, but the start of something new. Its eyes became completely black, as it looked at the soldiers it used to fight with. Those soldiers were scared when they looked back at it. But this new soldier understood its job, and happily accepted its new life. Jinwoo looked around at the whole battlefield. The fight between the silver soldiers coming from the gates in the sky, and the black soldiers rising up from where others had fallen, was very close. Both sides had about the same number of fighters. Was this what fighting in hell would be like? No one could fully understand the terrible things happening in this large land. The peacefulness between the two fighting sides changed immediately, when the Shadow Monarch stopped giving orders and began to fight himself. He rode onto the battlefield on a black horse. Whenever he swung his sword, he defeated many enemies. Then those who fell rose again and fought for him, as shadow soldiers. With just a wave of his hand, enemy soldiers flying away lost their ability to fly, and fell to the ground. The Shadow Monarch was a powerful ruler, who brought destruction to the land like a terrible storm. For the first time in the battle, the silver soldiers were forced to retreat. The millions who had won in the air, and on land were pushed back by only one enemy. Jinwoo made a sound showing he was impressed. It looked like the end was near, but just as the army in the sky was being defeated, a strange wind blew, and a powerful energy filled the air, making everyone feel chills. The Shadow Monarch looked behind him. Even though he was facing an enemy, two more giant gates, as big as the ones above, appeared, and two different kinds of magical beasts came out of them. One group was made up of magical beasts that looked like animals, and a giant wolf led them. It was as large as a mountain. The other group had knights and soldiers carrying flags that showed which important families they belonged to as they ran forward. Jinwoo's eyes got big when he saw this. Wait, Jinwoo knew all the symbols on the flags. They belonged to Ricardo Pathos, Locon, Ingalius, and even Radar. These were the symbols of important families from the demon's castle. Jinwoo didn't have time to think about why the demons were there. The animal creatures and demons attacked the dark soldiers together. The dark soldiers in their way were quickly defeated by the combined attack. But that was only the start. The powerful sky soldiers began attacking again, with the silver soldiers in front, and the animal and demon armies behind. The dark soldiers were completely surrounded. The battle was starting to change. Boom! Jinwoo held his chest because it hurt a lot. The hunter looked over at the Shadow Monarch beside him. He could strangely feel what the knight was thinking. How was this possible? Just like Jinwoo could sense the feelings of the shadow soldiers, he now understood what the Shadow Monarch was feeling too. He was incredibly angry. It wasn't just anger though, it was a very strong, deep rage. The dark soldiers kept falling, but then came back to life. It seemed like they could keep doing this forever, but Jinwoo knew. This wasn't true. He knew because he had a similar ability. This power only worked if you had enough energy. If you ran out of energy, the dark soldiers would stay down, and their leader wouldn't have any soldiers left to control. Jinwoo realized his great power was slowly disappearing. The leader turned his horse and rushed toward the newcomers. The battle that followed was very intense, and left many soldiers dead. It was a terrible fight, and many were hurt, but the end of the fighting was coming soon. Few creatures were left on the battlefield. The king's horse had been injured during the fight, but he kept going and defeated two demon soldiers. He then stood in front of a demon who was resting against a strange rock to catch its breath. His face was hidden by a helmet, but Shadow Monarch knew who it was. He thought, "We could have stopped the war today." He didn't say anything. "Why did you turn against me?" The injured demon looked up weakly. He was badly hurt, and probably wouldn't live much longer. The voice coming from inside the helmet sounded like he was about to die. Things could have been so different. We could have destroyed everyone, but Shadow Monarch's voice was very cold. I asked why you betrayed me. He. The demon laughed loudly and said something. Jinwoo couldn't understand the words. Did he hear wrong? No. The demon said more, and though Jinwoo didn't understand, the monarch seemed to. He quickly grabbed the demon by the neck and pulled it close. The demon made a choking sound. Crunch. The metal plate protecting its neck was bent by his strong grip. Even hurt, the demon tried to speak. It made strange noises. Then, the monarch pressed his thumb hard into the demon's neck. The demon coughed up blood. At that moment, Jinwoo looked directly into the demon's eyes, even though it was wearing a helmet. Shaken, the hunter let go of the demon's neck. The demon fell to the ground, no longer moving. Jinwoo couldn't believe it. He had seen those eyes before, but it seemed impossible. His heart beat quickly, he shook his head and carefully took off the demon's helmet. The eyes were definitely the same. How could Jinwoo ever forget them? The helmet dropped from his hands with a loud sound. The demon's eyes were open, still filled with anger. Jinwoo had seen these eyes at the very top of the demon's castle. Balin is that the demon monarch. As Jinwoo understood who the demon was, he realized something else surprising. His hands, feet, legs and chest were all covered in black armor. Somehow, Jinwoo had taken control of the Shadow Monarch's body. Boom, boom. Jinwoo's heart began to beat very loudly in his ears. He put his hand on his chest. Boom, boom. His eyes got big. Why didn't he notice before now? He had started paying more attention to his heartbeat, after going through 2 difficult challenges, but he hadn't realized it until this moment. Jinwoo's shaky hand moved to the right side of his chest. He could feel his heartbeat, one on the left, and another on the right. Boom. 2 hearts were beating together. As he stared at the ground surprised, 4 shadows came closer from above, slowly getting bigger. He looked up at the sky. 4 angels, each with 6 wings, floated slowly down toward him. That was the end of the memory. A chime sounded. He was surrounded by darkness again. As he lost consciousness, he heard a clear voice from the system. The system said all the data had been collected. 7 uninvited guests. Chugong Choi was the leader of the strongest guild in Korea. He was not happy when Jinchul asked him to go to a lower level gate, a C-rank gate. He even thought about sending a strong team of skilled hunters instead of going himself. But when he learned what was happening, he couldn't help but be interested. Hunter Sung had entered a special difficult area called a double dungeon. A double dungeon was interesting on its own, but the fact that Hunter Sung was involved made it even more exciting. Not many hunters or leaders of hunter groups wouldn't be thrilled. Chugong stopped planning the attack he was preparing and quickly called his best hunters together. Jinchul had made it clear that this was very important and needed to be done right away. The Hunter Association had asked for their help. It looks like we have to help. The hunters spoke quietly among themselves. They had just been called away from preparing for a difficult mission, so they knew something serious was happening. They had also just heard the news about what was going on in Japan, which made them even more worried. What's happening? Asked the second in command of the group. Chugong turned to face him. I heard they found a special kind of dungeon inside another dungeon in a medium-level gate. A dungeon inside a dungeon. Kyan was surprised. That was unusual, but she didn't understand why the association would ask the Hunters Guild to check out just a medium-level gate. Seeing her confusion, Chugong explained more. Hunter Jin Woo-sung seems to be battling something by himself. Manager Wu usually handles things, so for him to ask for our help, what's wrong? Hunter Chad. Her face changed. Nothing. Okay then. Hunter Sung should be okay, but let's go, just in case. Hyen agreed, and everyone quickly packed their things. They only brought their weapons with them, but they still had to put them away carefully. It looks like someone is missing. Another hunter touched his co-worker's shoulder and pointed to a corner of the room. A man was sitting on the floor looking very sad. Is that Suzuki? Just leave him alone. Oh, I see. The hunter understood immediately. Suzuki was a hunter from Japan who Korea had recently asked to join their team. He stared at the news on his phone. Let's go help. Okay. The 2 hunters left Suzuki at the office and got into a guild van. One by one, the vans carrying the special team drove away. Oh no. It's burning. Kim dropped his cigarette in surprise. It fell onto the sand, so it went out on its own. The way he stepped on it hard showed how upset he was. But now wasn't a good time to get angry at a cigarette. Kim looked back at the vans parked nearby. He was so focused on noticing that everyone getting out of the cars was a leading member of the Hunters Guild that he didn't feel the ash falling on his hands at first. Jonggin Choi Haen Sha and Jeong Gyo Yoon. Even Ki-hon-sun, the most important people from the Hunters Guild, were all together in one place. He hadn't expected to find a whole galaxy of stars after simply following Jinshul. It was strange because the doorway to this place was only a C-rank level. Kim felt his mouth get dry. He couldn't guess what he would find inside. Usually Manager Wu explained things clearly, but even he wasn't saying much. Because of this, Kim could only nervously try to relax by smoking many cigarettes. He had dropped cigarette butts all over the ground, and they were starting to pile up around his feet. Jinchul didn't notice the reporter looking at him, and quickly went to Jonggin. Like Jinchul, Jonggin was staring at the gate. "Wow, that's amazing," he exclaimed.